Deep space was silent, empty, and endless. Only the cold light of distant stars touched the wreckage drifting between them. Commander Railven stood on the bridge of his patrol ship, the Zephyrion, staring at the broken remains of what was once a fleet. Metal floated like dead leaves in a black ocean. No power signals. No life signs. Only silence. "What happened here?" one of his crew whispered. Rail did not answer. He could feel it, the strange pull of something unseen. Something powerful. The wreckage did not look like it came from battle. It looked like it had been erased. Entire ships melted, as if space itself had turned against them. His sensors caught faint energy trails, sharp and clean. Not alien. Not known. Human. The word appeared on his screen, small and quiet. Human signature detected. The crew gasped. Rail's blood ran cold. Humans were not supposed to be here. The Council had long said humans were primitive, emotional, and weak. But Rail had read the old records, the ones the Council tried to hide. He had seen what humans could do when pushed. He turned to his communications officer. "Send this to the Council," he ordered. "Mark it urgent. And tell them, do not attack the humans." The message was sent. But the Council did not listen. Hours later, the reply came, full of arrogance. "Commander Rail, your findings are exaggerated. Humans are a minor species. Return to base. The Council will review your report at a later date." Rail clenched his fists. He looked again at the wreckage. It was not just ships. There were escape pods, hundreds of them, opened from the outside. The beings inside were gone. Not killed. Taken. He looked at the command chair and whispered, "They are already here." When the Zephyrion reached the nearest starbase, Rail was called before the High Council. The chamber was bright, full of polished stone and silver light. 12 alien leaders sat in a circle, watching him like he was a fool. The eldest among them, Chancellor Vern, spoke first. "Commander Railven, your report claims humans destroyed an entire fleet. Do you understand how impossible that sounds?" Rail stood straight. "I understand, Chancellor. But I saw it. I have the recordings. I have the signal trace. They used something new, something beyond our technology." "A bluff," another council member said with a laugh. "Humans are barely spacefaring. Their ships are slow. Their weapons, primitive." "They were," Rail said quietly. "Not anymore." The council murmured. Vern leaned forward. "So you are suggesting, Commander, that these humans are a threat to the entire galactic order?" "I'm suggesting we leave them alone," Rail said. "Do not attack the humans. They will hunt you forever." The chamber filled with silence. Then laughter. The sound echoed like broken glass. "Hunt us." Vern smiled cruelly. "You speak as if they are predators." Rail's voice dropped lower. "They are." The council voted to ignore his warning. They declared humans a non-threat. Rail was ordered to stand down and remain silent. That night, alone in his quarters, he watched the last footage from the wreck site again. The feed showed an alien cruiser drifting in darkness. Suddenly, a faint light blinked on its hull, red, rhythmic, like a heartbeat. Then static. And through the static came a voice. It was human. Calm, steady, and full of cold anger. "We warned you once." Rail froze. The message repeated, each word clearer. "We warned you once." His ship's system began to glitch. Screens flickered, lights dimmed. The human signal was spreading through the system like a virus. Rail's first officer rushed in. "Commander, we're getting signals across every frequency. They're inside our comms." "Shut it down," Rail shouted. But it was too late. The message had already reached the Council's main communication network. Across the galaxy, every station, every outpost, every ship received the same haunting words, "We warned you once." Then the signal cut to black. For a long moment, there was nothing but silence. Rail stared at the dark screens and whispered, "It's already begun." Far away, on a blue planet bathed in sunlight, a human general watched the alien signal blink across her command table. She gave a single nod. "They didn't listen," she said. "Activate Protocol Hunt." Back in the alien capital, the council sat in confusion. Their networks flickered. Their satellites went offline one by one. Rail tried to contact them, but his messages were blocked. Then a final transmission came through, an old human proverb, translated into their tongue. "Those who start the fire must face the flames." Rail knew what it meant. He turned to his crew and said softly, "Prepare the ship. We're not safe anymore." Outside the window, space seemed to darken. Stars vanished behind strange, moving shadows. The hunt had begun, and the galaxy was about to learn the truth. Humans never forgive. And they never forget. The council chamber glowed with golden light, its tall arches shining with power and pride. Yet beneath that polished beauty, fear was spreading like a shadow. Commander Railven's warning still echoed in the air, but no one dared to speak it aloud. The High Council had officially dismissed his report. "Humans are insignificant," they declared. "A primitive species with loud mouths and small guns." But deep down, some of them were not so sure. Among the quiet observers sat Lyra Kale, a young intelligence officer. She had studied human transmissions for years, music, old war speeches, even their strange jokes. She found them emotional, yes, but not weak. Something about their history unsettled her. They fought wars not to survive, but to win, even when victory meant destroying themselves. She believed Rail's warning. But in the council, belief was dangerous. When she tried to speak, the Chancellor raised his hand. "Enough, Officer Lyra. Your fascination with this savage species has been noted. Do not bring it into official matters." The words cut deep, but she bowed her head and stayed silent. Later that night, Rail was officially exiled to the outer colonies for spreading fear and false intelligence. His rank was stripped, his record sealed. He said nothing as the guards escorted him away, but his eyes met Lyra's across the hall. "They won't listen," he whispered as he passed. "But you must." His ship disappeared into the darkness, and the council turned its focus elsewhere, toward pride and toward war. Within days, the council approved Operation Starflame, an offensive meant to remind humans of their place. A small human scout ship had entered the border zone, unarmed, scanning local radiation fields. The council called it an invasion. Admiral Taris was given command of the response fleet. "Destroy the ship," Vern ordered. "Make it a message. The galaxy must remember who leads." The fleet of 12 warships set out with glory in their hearts. They found the human vessel near the edge of a dying star system. It was tiny, a single ship made of rough gray metal. No weapons active. No shields raised. Just drifting, scanning the silence. The alien ships surrounded it like wolves around a lamb. Admiral Taris opened a channel. "This is the Varn Dominion. You are trespassing in restricted space. Identify yourself, or be destroyed." No reply came. "Fire a warning shot," the Admiral ordered. The plasma bolt streaked across the void, grazing the human hull. Still, no response. "End this," Taris said. 12 cannons roared. The human ship vanished in light. Sensors confirmed the destruction. The alien crews cheered. "That's what happens when you defy the council," one officer laughed. But Lyra, watching the feed from her station, felt uneasy. The readings didn't make sense. There was no explosion signature, no energy residue. The ship hadn't been destroyed. It had disappeared. She replayed the data again and again. The moment the human ship was hit, it released a pulse, a tiny electromagnetic burst carrying a code. A transmission. To where, she couldn't tell. She brought her findings to the council. "The ship didn't die," she said. "It sent something, a signal." Vern smirked. A final scream from a dying beast, nothing more. No, she insisted. It was targeted. It was meant for us. The council dismissed her again. You let your imagination blind you, officer. We are the council. No creature in this galaxy dares challenge us. Lyra left the chamber, her hands shaking. That night, the first strange reports arrived. Remote colonies were losing communication. Outposts were going dark. Entire systems, gone. At first, the council blamed technical failure. But the disappearances grew too fast, too precise. A cargo convoy vanished in the middle of a stable route. A border station reported shadows moving between stars, too quick to identify. Then a final message came from Admiral Taris's fleet, the same fleet that had destroyed the human scout ship. They found us, his last transmission said. We fired first. They are coming. The signal ended in static. The next morning, all 12 ships were gone. No wreckage, no survivors, no distress beacons. Just silence. Panic spread among the lower ranks. But the council refused to show fear. It is sabotage, they said. Or pirates. Or internal betrayal. But even as they spoke, new messages appeared in their system logs. A single line, repeated in every database, every terminal, every comms link. Simple, cold words written in the alien language, but clearly not from any alien. The message said, "You started this." Lyra's heart stopped when she saw it. The code was clean, efficient, and unmistakably human. She ran to the communication core, trying to trace the source, but the signal bounced endlessly, shifting between satellites like a ghost. One by one, council servers began to fail. Systems shut down. The city lights flickered. For the first time in history, the alien capital went dark. No one spoke. In the black silence of the council hall, a voice broke through the static of the intercom. "Come. Human. We finish what we begin." Then silence again. Lyra stood frozen. The council members looked at each other, unsure if it was real. But far above their planet, beyond their sensors, human ships moved quietly through the void. No lights, no signatures, only shadows among stars. The hunt had not yet begun, but the message was clear. The humans were coming, and this time, they would not warn twice. Days passed, and the alien council tried to hide the growing fear spreading through their empire. Every communication officer, every patrol commander whispered about the same thing: missing fleets, ghost signals, and a strange human code appearing in their systems. The council called it glitches. But everyone knew better. Something was hunting them. In the deep command center of the capital, Officer Lyra Kale sat alone, her eyes fixed on the data screen. She had stopped sleeping. Every night she rechecked transmissions, searching for a pattern. Then, one evening, it appeared, a broadcast spreading across every known channel, unstoppable. The message was simple, written in perfect alien language, but unmistakably human in tone. "You started this. We finish what we begin." The words echoed through every city, every ship, every home. Panic followed. Traders refused to travel. Civilians locked their ports. Military fleets were ordered to stand by, but few answered. Many were already gone. The council convened in emergency session. The Grand Chamber, once full of pride and power, now hummed with fear. Chancellor Verne slammed his clawed hand on the table. "This is psychological warfare. They seek to divide us through fear." Another member shouted, "Entire colonies are missing, Chancellor. No signals, no debris. Do you call that fear?" Arguments filled the hall. Only Lyra stayed quiet. When they turned to her, she said softly, "This is not war. This is warning." The room fell silent. "Humans fight differently," she continued. "They don't rush to destroy. They wait. They study. Then they strike where it hurts most." The council dismissed her words again, but doubt had begun to crack their arrogance. In the outer sectors, Rael Ven, now living in exile on a mining moon, watched the same message spread across the colony network. The workers whispered it like a curse. "You started this." He closed his eyes. "They've come," he muttered. His second-in-command, an old friend, asked, "What do we do, Rail?" "The council won't listen." "We survive," he said. "And maybe warn whoever will." He sent encrypted reports through hidden channels, hoping Lyra might see them. Meanwhile, across alien space, the disappearances increased. Patrols sent distress signals that cut mid-scream. Stations near wormholes reported flickering shadows. Even the navigation satellites went dark. One captain managed to transmit a single image before vanishing, a small human drone hovering silently outside his ship, scanning. No weapons. No words. Just watching. The council tried to cover it up, but leaks spread across the network. Ordinary citizens began to flee to the core worlds. Riots broke out as the truth spread. Humans were real, and they were here. One morning, Lyra received a hidden transmission. The signal was weak, coded with Rail's signature. She decrypted it with shaking hands. The message read, "The hunt has begun." Her heart pounded. She rushed to the communication chamber, but the council guards stopped her. "Orders from the Chancellor," they said coldly. "You are no longer permitted in restricted zones." They took her badge, her clearance, everything. But Lyra didn't stop. That night, she broke into the data archives, tracing the human code backward through the system. It didn't come from outside their space, it came from within. From ships that were supposed to be destroyed. The human signal was using their own satellites, their own technology to spread. That's when she understood, the humans weren't just attacking, they were teaching. They wanted the aliens to see what fear really felt like. Suddenly, her screen blinked. A new message appeared, this time addressed directly to her. "You understand faster than the others." Her breath caught. "Who are you?" she typed back. The reply came instantly. "A survivor." Then a second line, "Tell your leaders, the war they wanted is over before it began." Lyra stared at the screen. Her reflection trembled in the dim light. The humans were inside their system, reading her every move. She tried to trace the signal, but it looped endlessly. Then her console went black, and a distorted image appeared, a human face, covered by a dark visor. The voice spoke softly. "We do not seek conquest. We seek remembrance. You took what was ours. Now we take your silence." The image vanished, leaving only a flickering cursor. Lyra backed away, heart pounding. The next morning, every major communication relay in the Empire went offline. The Council had lost contact with more than half their fleets. In panic, Chancellor Verne ordered the creation of the Silent Protocol, a command to destroy any human signal detected, no matter the source. But it was already too late. The humans had learned their systems faster than their own engineers. As the Council scrambled, an emergency beacon activated near the capital. The image of Rail appeared on the main screen. "Listen to me," he said, his face grim. "The humans are not attacking for territory. They are hunting the ones responsible. They don't kill for power, they kill for message. You started this war. You fired first. Now, they finish. Silence him." Verne roared. The transmission cut out. The council chamber fell quiet. Then the lights flickered. One by one, screens across the capital turned to static. A new voice, calm and human, spoke over every channel. "This is the price of arrogance. You were warned." In the streets below, civilians looked up as their skies filled with strange shapes. Massive ships, silent and dark, blocking out the stars. No weapons fired. No sound. Only presence. And then, as quickly as they appeared, the ships vanished into the clouds of deep space. The message was clear. The humans were no longer shadows. They were judgment. And they had only just begun. The war had not been declared, but it had already begun. Across the stars, alien colonies found themselves cut off one by one. No explosions, no open battles, only silence that spread like a virus. Communications failed. Power grids flickered. Satellites stopped responding. The humans had come, but not as the aliens expected. They didn't march with fleets of fire or announce invasion. They hunted from the dark, striking systems that fed the alien empire's strength: fuel lines, data relays, and command stations. Every hit was clean, efficient, and invisible. The Council could not find them, could not stop them, and most terrifying of all, could not understand them. On the capital world, panic finally broke through the walls of pride. The streets were filled with frightened citizens. The once mighty banners of the Council now hung like fading cloth in the polluted air. Inside the great chamber, Chancellor Verne slammed his fists on the table. How can they do this? How can a single race bring us to our knees without even firing on us directly? No one answered. Every strategist, every admiral sat in shame. They had no plan, no hope. The humans had learned everything about them: their codes, their defenses, even their blind spots. "They're not fighting for conquest," one general said quietly. "They're punishing us." "Enough!" Verne shouted. "We are the Dominion. We will strike back." He ordered the creation of a counterattack fleet, 500 warships, equipped with experimental weapons designed to locate human signals. But the moment the fleet entered hyperspace, it vanished. Not destroyed, just gone. No trace, no debris. Lyra Kale, now considered a traitor by the Council for her sympathy toward Rael and her belief in the human threat, watched from hiding as the Empire began to collapse. She had escaped arrest with the help of a small group of officers who believed in her. They operated from an old mining base, trying to find any pattern in the human attacks. "They don't hit random targets," Lyra said, studying the data. "Every system they destroy is connected to the first battle, the fleet that attacked their ship." She paused and zoomed in on the map. "They're retracing our steps." Her assistant frowned. "You mean revenge?" "Not revenge," she said softly. "A lesson." The base trembled as a shockwave passed through the planet's crust. Outside, distant explosions lit up the horizon. A human strike team had arrived. But unlike the stories told by frightened soldiers, there were no screams, no fire raining from the sky. Only silence. The humans moved like shadows, disabling reactors, jamming comms, and vanishing before anyone saw them. When Lyra and her team finally stepped outside, they found every weapon offline, every system dead, but no one harmed. On a fallen wall, written in the alien language, were 4 simple words: "We do not forget." She felt a chill run through her. Somewhere above the planet, a fleet of human warships orbited silently. She tried to contact them, sending a coded signal of peace. To her surprise, someone answered. The screen flickered, and a human figure appeared, face hidden behind a dark helmet. The voice was calm, almost gentle. "You are not like the others," it said. "You listened." "Please," Lyra said, "stop this. The people you're hurting, they don't even know what the Council did." The voice paused. "We do not hunt the innocent," it said. "Only those who began the fire." Before she could reply, the signal ended. Moments later, the human ships vanished from orbit. Lyra stood in silence, realizing the truth: humans weren't trying to conquer. They were erasing arrogance. Meanwhile, on the edge of the galaxy, Rael Ven led a small convoy of refugees trying to reach a safe system. He monitored human transmissions, trying to decode them. What he found shocked him. Every message was written not in threats, but in records, logs, images, names of alien officers responsible for the first attack. The humans were building a list. A hunt list. And the Council's names were at the top. Back in the capital, the Council's final days had begun. Cities flickered with power failures. Factories shut down. Drones patrolled empty streets. Fear had become the new ruler. The Council called an emergency broadcast, trying to speak to their people, but before they could finish, their signal was hijacked. A human face appeared across every screen in the Empire. The voice was calm, unshaken. "You fired first," it said. You thought we were weak. But we are the children of struggle. We are the descendants of war. We fight not for conquest, but for memory. And now, you will remember. The broadcast ended, leaving the galaxy in silence. Vern screamed in rage, ordering a full-scale assault on any human sighting, but his words were useless. The humans were ghosts. They struck, vanished, and left nothing behind but the fear of their name. In one final act of desperation, the Council tried to activate their planet's defense network, a system of massive orbital cannons. But when they powered it on, the network turned against them. The cannons fired once, straight down. The blast shattered their own command center, sending shockwaves across the capital. From the distance of space, Lyra watched as her home planet burned. She fell to her knees, tears mixing with the cold air of her ship. Rael's voice came through the calm. They warned us, he said quietly. We laughed. Now we pay. Lyra closed her eyes. There must be a way to stop this. Maybe, Rael replied. But not with weapons. Outside her window, she saw human ships drifting quietly, like shadows mourning the dead. They did not attack the cities. They did not speak. They simply watched. And somewhere in that silence, she understood, the humans were not monsters. They were mirrors, showing the galaxy what it had become. The hunt was never about blood. It was about truth. And the truth was far more terrifying than war. The war had changed everything. The proud alien empire that once ruled the stars now lived in fear of the dark. Their fleets were gone, their communication lines shattered, their leaders hiding in underground shelters. But the humans did not come to destroy the cities or enslave the people. They came to make the guilty remember. In the ruined capital, the Grand Council chamber stood empty. The great banners of power lay torn and burnt on the marble floor. Chancellor Vern had vanished, his last known order a desperate command to silence all human transmissions. No one had seen him since. Lyra Kale walked through the wreckage of what had been the center of her world. Her boots echoed against the cracked floor, her heart heavy with guilt. We did this, she whispered to herself. Our pride brought this. The once shining city was silent now, covered in ash and fear. Then a faint signal appeared on her wrist communicator, a message marked with Rael's code. She rushed to the nearest terminal and opened it. His voice came through the static. Lyra, if you can hear me, meet me at Outpost 9. I found something you need to see. She didn't hesitate. Within hours, she was flying through the wrecked skies, passing empty ships and burning satellites. The world below her looked like a graveyard. When she arrived at Outpost 9, she found Rael waiting inside an old research bunker, surrounded by scattered data drives and dim lights. His face looked older, worn by fear and sleepless nights. You found it? She asked. He nodded. Records, he said quietly. From the human archives. He handed her a small black device. They're not attacking us without reason. They're hunting those who ordered the first strike, the ones responsible for killing their scout ship. They're not monsters, Lyra. They're judges. Lyra connected the device to a console. Images appeared, recordings of the first battle, transmissions from the Council ordering the destruction of the unarmed human vessel. Then came the aftermath, human distress calls, broken voices asking for help before going silent. Lyra covered her mouth. They tried to talk to us, she whispered. They warned us not to attack. Rael nodded. And we ignored them. Now they are showing us what fear feels like. The room shook slightly as an energy surge passed overhead. They rushed outside and saw 3 human ships descending silently through the clouds. Rael raised his hands in surrender, but the ships didn't fire. Instead, a single drop pod landed near them. The doors opened slowly, and a group of humans stepped out, tall, armored, their movements precise. One of them removed their helmet. To Lyra's surprise, the human looked calm, not angry. You are Lyra Kale, the human said in perfect alien language. You helped our prisoners escape from your council's labs. You are not our enemy. Lyra stared, speechless. "Why are you here?" she finally asked. The human looked at Rael, then back at her. "To end this," he said. "Your council leaders are hiding. We have come to take them. To kill them." Rael asked. The human shook his head. "No. To make them face what they did." His eyes were cold but steady. "Humans don't destroy for revenge. We destroy so no one repeats the same mistake." The human handed Lyra a data crystal. "Inside is proof of what your government did. Broadcast it to your people. Let them see the truth." Then the humans turned and left, disappearing into their ships like ghosts. The ships rose into the sky, vanishing without a sound. Lyra held the crystal tightly. "They're giving us a chance," she said. "A chance to fix what we broke." Rael nodded. "Then we can't waste it." Together they returned to the capital, sneaking through abandoned tunnels to reach an old broadcast tower. Lyra inserted the crystal into the main console. The screens across the Empire flickered to life, showing the recordings, the council ordering the attack, the human warnings ignored, the first blood spilled. For the first time, the truth was public. The people were silent as they watched their leaders laugh at the idea of human strength. Then the transmission changed. A human voice spoke. "We never wanted war. But when war came, we did not run. We fought, because survival is what humans are made for. Remember this: mercy is given to those who seek peace, not to those who lie." The message ended, and the screens went dark. Across the Empire, something changed. Fear turned into shame. Soldiers began to abandon their posts. Civilians started to speak out. The empire that once ruled through control was now ruled by guilt. Days later, Lyra received another transmission, this time from the humans. It was short. "We have the council. The hunt ends here." She stared at the message in silence. Rael placed a hand on her shoulder. "It's over," he said softly. But deep down, Lyra knew it wasn't truly over. The humans would leave, but their message would remain forever. That night, as she stood under the quiet sky, she saw human ships moving away from the planet, their lights fading into the distance. They didn't destroy the world. They didn't conquer. They simply left, leaving behind silence and the weight of their lesson. Rael joined her, watching the stars. "Do you think they'll ever forgive us?" he asked. Lyra shook her head. "Forgiveness isn't what they came for," she said. "They came to remind us who we are." The stars above seemed brighter that night, but colder too. The humans were gone, but their presence lingered like a shadow across the galaxy, a reminder that power without humility is a curse, and that even the smallest spark, when ignored, can burn empires to ashes. Silence covered the galaxy like a heavy fog. The humans had vanished back into the darkness between stars, leaving the once mighty alien empire broken, leaderless, and haunted by its own mistakes. Every world now spoke their name in whispers. Parents warned their children not to provoke the unknown. Soldiers refused to speak of what they had seen. Only fragments of the truth remained, records of human ships that moved like ghosts, of entire fleets disappearing without a single blast, of messages that appeared from nowhere and vanished just as quickly. For the first time in history, the alien species understood fear not as a feeling, but as a memory. Lyra Kale stood on the balcony of the abandoned council hall, watching the ruins of the capital below. It had been months since the humans' final message, yet the city still hadn't recovered. Broken towers stood like bones under a dark sky. "They are gone," said Raelven beside her. "And yet it feels as if they're still watching." Lyra nodded. "They are watching," she said quietly. "But not for revenge. They're making sure we remember." Rael sighed, his eyes distant. "I used to think they were monsters," he said. "Now I think they are something else entirely." Later that day, while exploring the ruins of the council archives, Lyra found something hidden deep in the data vaults, a collection of old recordings marked, classified, ancient contact. Most of the files were corrupted, but one played perfectly. The image showed the first meeting between humans and the Dominion, centuries ago. Back then, the humans had just begun their journey into the stars. They came in peace, offering trade and friendship. But the Dominion saw them as weak, and when the humans refused to surrender their home world, the Dominion attacked. What followed was chaos. The record showed entire Dominion fleets burning in human orbit. Ships destroyed not by advanced weapons, but by the humans themselves, ramming their own vessels into enemy lines, detonating reactors rather than surrendering. The humans had won, but the cost had been devastating. The file ended with a message from an old human commander: "Do not come for us again. We remember. We always remember." Lyra sat in silence, understanding now why Rael's warnings had been ignored. The Council had erased these records to protect their pride. They wanted to believe the humans had died out. But humans never died out. They adapted, they endured. "They survived gods," Rael said softly when she showed him the files. "They survived extinction, wars, and their own mistakes. That's what makes them dangerous. Not their weapons, not their ships, but their will." Lyra nodded. "And that's what we never understood." As days passed, more fragments of history appeared across the network. The humans had not just built weapons, they had built philosophies. Their soldiers fought not out of duty, but out of belief. Their engineers created not for conquest, but for survival. Every human action carried purpose. When they warned, they meant it. When they attacked, they finished it. Soon the alien historians began to study them seriously, no longer as enemies but as mysteries. The more they learned, the more they feared. It was said that humans could turn any environment into home, any defeat into a lesson, any pain into power. Rael believed it too. "They don't fear death," he told Lyra one night as they worked in the command bunker. "They've met it too many times before." "Maybe that's why they're so strong," Lyra replied. "They already know what it means to lose everything." Then came a new signal, faint but clear. It was human. The message was simple: "We are watching. Do not forget." The Council might have fallen, but someone else was listening. Across the galaxy, the remaining leaders gathered secretly, forming a new alliance to rebuild their civilization. They called it the Unity Accord. Their first law was clear: never attack humanity again. Lyra and Rael became advisors, teaching others what they had learned. But deep down, both of them knew this peace was fragile. Fear could fade. Pride could return. And if it did, the humans would come again. Lyra spent her days studying human philosophy. She found one passage that struck her more deeply than any weapon: "We fight not because we are strong, but because we cannot live on our knees." She read it aloud to Rael, and he said, "That is their secret. They never stop standing." As months passed, the Dominion slowly began to heal. Cities were rebuilt. Trade resumed. But everywhere, statues of the fallen stood beside new ones, memorials to the humans who had taught them the price of arrogance. And then, one night, something strange happened. The skies above the capital filled with faint lights, thousands of small drones floating silently. People panicked at first, thinking the humans had returned for war. But instead, the drones projected images in the sky. Images of peace, of stars, of humans walking side by side with other species. A message followed, the same across every planet: peace is not weakness. But arrogance is death. Then the drones vanished, leaving no trace. Lyra looked up, her heart heavy but calm. "They're reminding us again," she said. Rael nodded. "And they'll keep reminding us as long as we live." The humans were gone, but their presence was eternal. Their silence spoke louder than war, their mercy cut deeper than any blade. And as the galaxy rebuilt itself under the quiet weight of their lesson, everyone finally understood the truth. Humans were not the monsters the Council had feared. They were survivors, forged in struggle, shaped by pain, and bound by a single law that no other race could understand: never start a hunt you cannot finish. The galaxy had entered a strange kind of peace. The wars were over, the councils dissolved, and the silence that followed was heavy with memory. Every civilization that had once mocked or feared the humans now lived carefully, aware that the watchers among the stars still observed them. Decades had passed since the final message from Earth, yet no one had forgotten the words, "Peace is not weakness, but arrogance is death." Lyra Kale had grown older, her hair silver, her eyes still sharp. She lived on a quiet colony world now, far from the ruins of the old empire. Every evening she sat by the window of her home, looking up at the night sky, half expecting to see the faint shadows of human ships gliding among the stars. Though no one had seen them for years, everyone felt their presence. Humanity had become more myth than memory. Some believed they had returned to their own world, others thought they had vanished into another dimension. But those who had faced them knew the truth. Humans never vanished. They waited. One cold morning, a transmission arrived on Lyra's personal channel. It was encrypted with an old Dominion code, one that only Railven still used. Her heart leaped as she opened it. The message was short, "They're back. Come to the observatory." She wasted no time. Within hours, she was aboard a shuttle racing toward the high orbital observatory on the edge of the rebuilt capital. When she arrived, she found Rail standing before a massive viewing window, staring into the blackness of space. His expression was unreadable. "You weren't wrong," he said quietly. "They never left." He pointed toward a cluster of faint lights at the edge of the system. Small, steady, perfectly aligned. "Human vessels," he said. "But they're not advancing. Just watching." Lyra felt a chill run through her. "Why return now?" she asked. Rail sighed. "Because we've begun to forget again." He turned on the main screen, showing a series of recent reports, skirmishes between border colonies, fleets being rebuilt, leaders once again speaking of power and expansion. "It always begins the same way," he said bitterly. "We rebuild, we grow confident, and then we repeat history." Lyra clenched her fists. "Not this time," she said. "We can stop it." But deep down she knew that old arrogance was returning faster than wisdom could keep up. The council was gone, but new leaders had risen, ambitious, proud, and blind to the lessons carved in fire decades ago. That night, as they watched the human fleet holding position in the void, a message arrived across every system in the galaxy. It was not a threat, but a warning. The voice was unmistakably human, deep and calm. "To the children of the Dominion. We remember. We see your ships, your new armies, your hunger for control. We will not interfere, unless you force our hand. Do not test us again." The message ended with silence. No demand, no promise, just a reminder. Across the galaxy, leaders panicked. Some called for negotiation, others for surrender, and a few fools for retaliation. Lyra spoke before the new assembly, her voice steady but filled with urgency. "The humans gave us a second chance. Do not throw it away. They are not our enemies, they are our mirror. Every time we repeat our mistakes, they will return to remind us who we are." But not everyone listened. Within weeks, a military faction launched a small strike near a region known as the Dead Belt, an area once devastated during the First War. They claimed it was a defensive exercise. The humans saw it differently. Their ships moved. Silent, efficient, unstoppable. Within hours, every Dominion ship in that region went dark. There were no explosions, no debris, only a faint signal left behind, "We warned you once." The galaxy froze. No one dared speak for days. Then the human fleet transmitted one final message, broadcast on all frequencies. "We do not seek your end. We seek your change. Learn. Or vanish." Then the ships turned away, fading back into the void like ghosts. The stars swallowed them, leaving the galaxy trembling in silence once more. Lyra and Rail watched the event unfold from the observatory, their faces pale but calm. "They've saved us again," Lyra whispered. "No," Rail said softly. "They've reminded us again. The saving part is up to us." Years later, peace returned, but this time, it was born from understanding, not fear. The Unity Accord expanded, uniting races that once hated each other. They built monuments across dozens of worlds, tall towers of glass and steel, each carrying a single phrase etched in every language: do not attack the humans. Children were taught human history in schools. Not the myths, but the truth. They learned how humanity rose from chaos, how they fought gods, darkness, and extinction, and how they always stood back up. And through that lesson, the galaxy learned something deeper: that the greatest strength is not power, but the will to protect what must never be lost again. In her final years, Lyra recorded her memories of the war, her encounters with humans, and the fall of the old empire. Her last message to the people was simple. Humans showed us what happens when arrogance rules the heart. They taught us that mercy is not weakness, that survival demands respect, and that peace must be guarded, not by fear, but by understanding. We live today because they spared us. Let us be worthy of that mercy. When Lyra passed, the galaxy mourned her as the voice of truth. And on that same night, for the first time in decades, the human signal appeared once again. One transmission, short and calm. We remember her. The message vanished, but the meaning stayed forever. The humans never attacked again. They didn't need to. Their story had become legend, their lesson eternal. The galaxy finally understood the truth that Rael had spoken long ago. Humans were not conquerors, not saviors, but reminders. Reminders that peace without humility is an illusion, and that those who start the fire will always face the flames.